thanks to all the fans. Our student section, students did an amazing job again. The Gator Nation coming out, supporting the team. Early kickoff, homecoming weekend, a lot going on around campus. And I'm thankful all our fans did a fantastic job coming out, continuing the great environment here in the Swamp.
We'll start with Edgar Thompson.
Yeah, hey Dan. Did your team come out with the kind of passion and execution that you wanted to see early on? You seem pretty dissatisfied at halftime.
Yeah, well, you know what? I love our team. I love the attitude of our team. We got to do a better job coaching to tighten some things up and get it cleaned up and make sure the exactness of what we want is being executed on game day. But team certainly a great attitude all week, and I love the guys in that locker room and their mindset. And it's our job as coaches to kind of make sure that the intensity level every snap of the game is where it needs to be at.
Anthony Richardson, a lot of anticipation to see him play, obviously, from everyone.
Got some reps, got a bunch of reps today, huh?
Yeah, comes out, struggles right out of the gate. What does that kind of say about, like, the learning curve that he does face ultimately?
Well, I think all quarterbacks have a learning curve, and there's why there's development that goes into it. I do think Anthony works his tail off, has a great approach in what he's doing, great approach in getting ready at practice. I see him improving, and the nice thing, we're throwing him in. He's getting some opportunities during the game to go show what he can do, and he's got to continue to improve.
Thank you, Dan.
Cassidy.
Hey, sorry. Ole Miss, Arkansas just ended. I had to watch the last play.
Who won?
Ole Miss, Arkansas had a touchdown to get it 52-51, and then they decided to go for two instead of the tie, and they didn't get the 2-point conversion.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Another day in the SEC.
Yeah. Well, kind of speaking of that, you had a 4-word halftime interview, I believe. What did you kind of tell the guys at halftime, and how much more pleased were you with what they were able to kind of put on the field in the second half?
I probably used some more words in the locker room, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I didn't mean it. I wasn't trying to be short with the reporter. She asked a question, I gave an answer, and I feel bad if she was upset by that. It wasn't her. She wasn't on the field doing anything. So. But for the players, I thought, in the first half, I thought there's things did well, things who did poorly. But overall, it's to me, and that's on the coaching staff of us, of making sure that we have crossed every T, dotted every I, that our execution and exactness, not just looking at thing as a whole, but looking at it individually on every snap of the game. Are we playing to the level we need to play at with the intensity we need to play at? And I don't know that we did that for the first half as a whole. There's things I can circle in the first half that were great, and there's things I can circle in the first half that just were not up to our standard. And our job as coaches to make sure we are at our standard on every snap.
Yeah, and that wasn't a knock. I feel like all 4 words said everything they needed to.
I mean, I do feel I wasn't trying to be like mean to her, and like I wasn't trying to do anything negative. She asked. I mean, that was what came to my head when she asked the question. So.
Matt Baker.
Oh, go ahead, Cassidy. We'll let you keep rolling.
Thank you. First half was bookended by 2 drives that really kind of featured a lot of Naquan Wright and Trent Whittemore. What are you just kind of seeing out of them more and more? Trent, especially as he sort of come on, and what do they bring to what you can do?
Yeah, I think when you roll the guys through sometimes, when you roll guys through, it just shows to us we have a lot of confidence in guys, and all of a sudden, like one game, one guy might stand out more than the other. And the hardest part for everybody and a lot of fans is look and say, oh, okay, so this guy stood out this game. Well, it really is not that to me. It's we have trust in a bunch of guys, and when you have the opportunity to make plays, are you making them? And we see guys doing it, and it's not just one guy. There's multiple guys. And obviously with Malik down this game, Naquan had more opportunities, and he came up and played pretty well. We've had games where, Trent and Rick rotate a bunch. And, to try to keep them fresh in there. And all of a sudden, Trent's on the field and gets his number called and makes some plays. And, a couple weeks ago, Rick had a bunch of catches in a game, and as you're rolling the guys through, it just is more about our confidence in the depth of our players of putting on the field to make plays more than, hey, one guy stood out more than the other. It just happened to be they were on the field for those calls, but we have confidence in them making the plays.
Thank you.
Matt Baker?
I want to break down your halftime interview, if I may.
Yes.
You said the quarterbacks needed to play better.
Yes.
What did they do to play better in the second half?
Well, the first part of the second half, we made reads better, got rid of the ball, got us, a little better decision making at times. In the first part of it, then we kind of got a little sloppy in the second part of the second half.
And then the second part, you said the defense was awful.
Yep.
What particularly did you find awful in the first half, and what improvements did you see in the second?
They played 50 snaps, gave up over 200 yards of offense, couldn't get off the field. They were on the field the entire half, with the exception of our first 2 drives. I think were 3 and outs, right? I don't have all the actual drive chart in front of me. Missed tackles, giving up third down conversions. Then the second half, I saw us go back to where we were kind of those first 2 drives at the start of the second half, where we completely slammed the door on them and played with an intensity to not just, it's not like, hey, let them drive the length of the field. And, you look at the first half, defensively, they missed they missed a couple field goals, and they had a kind of a drop on an overturned play in the end zone. So in the second half, we made sure they didn't have those opportunities.
Graham Hall?
Hey, Dan, you said leading up to the week that you had a couple guys that were questionable. When it comes to Malik and Richard Garage, any thought that could hang into the LSU game?
We'll find out. I'll find that out more after the weekend with the trainers and meet with everybody where everybody's at and see if they're going to be ready to go. We had a lot of guys down, a lot of guys not practice. Hopefully we're going to get some more guys back next week, but next guy's got to step up and be ready to go play.
And what'd you think of the corners with Kyer not being available once again? I know you used the word probable a couple of weeks ago.
I was hoping, and week 1 didn't turn around. Today, right on the edge, he warmed up. I think everybody saw him go out and warm up. It was going to be a game time decision for us. And, talking to him, he wanted to play. Talked to the trainers, and they said that we could get him out there if we had to, possibly in an emergency. And so that gets on me. If a trainer says that to me, get him out there in case of an emergency is not real confidence of what I'm looking for to get a guy onto the field. So we made the decision. I met with him after warm-ups, and I said, hey, I know you. He's like, I'm ready to go. I said, no, we're not even gonna dress you. So, but as he said, he'll be ready to. He's like, Coach, trust me, I will be ready next week. So.
Just a real quick one. What did you think of Michael Tarkman filling in there at left tackle?
Yeah, I'll watch the film to see that, But, we expect guys to be ready to go play, get those opportunities. So that's something before I got to go watch the film to see.
Appreciate it.
David Whitley?
Dan, you guys took a lot more deep shots today than you have been. Where is the passing game at right now? And did you see today what you're hoping to see out of that?
Yeah, well, the defense determines where the passing game goes, so that's a big deal. So they kind of determine where the ball gets thrown by what coverage they're in. And so the coverages they played led to us to take some more deep shots today, and everybody plays different coverages. That's the type of coverage they played to allow us to do that, and we took some. So I would think, let's see. 18 of 28 for 298. So that's a solid day passing the ball.
Is it strictly coverages that dictate that, or did you also just want to see some more deep passing out of memory?
It's the coverages dictate where the ball goes. We'll call. I'll call a lot of. I can call deep shot. I call deep shot every play if they're going to bail everybody way deep. There's nowhere you can't throw it deep. So it's always coverage based where the ball goes.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Bianchi?
Hey, Coach. Two tough games coming up. The season could be defined at LSU and then against Georgia. Where do you think the team is heading into this 2-game stretch here?
Well, I don't know the season's ever defined by anything until the season's over, and then we look back, and then the season gets defined on what it was at the end. So, for us. But obviously, you know, we have a tough challenge this week with LSU. After that, we'll figure out what goes on after that. You know, obviously, anytime you go is a big game. Florida LSU, you know, anytime you're playing what is it called, the constant crossover, or what do they call that? Permanent opponent. Thank you, Cassidy. Permanent opponent. It's a big game because, you know, I mean, it's like playing anybody else in the East. You're going to play them every single year, so it's a big game. And obviously, Florida LSU has been a big game throughout the year. So, you know, we'll enjoy the win, like I said, and get back to work on the coaches this afternoon. Get back to work, and the players, you know, get back in, recover tomorrow, and get back in Monday to get ready to go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nick Delatorre.
You're a big fan of the permanent opponent.
Yeah. Listen, Florida LSU. I love playing big games. That's a big game. I love being I love playing those big games. But I do think, you know, I mean, there's a bunch of teams over there that would be fun to play, different teams.
Yeah. You say all the time, you know, you're just trying to get better, whether it's practice by practice, week by week. Do you feel like your team is getting better each week?
Some things we got to accelerate that with. Again, way too many penalties today. You know, if you look at that, I got to go watch what other teams maybe are doing. You know, we played Vanderbilt and Kentucky, really haven't had any penalties called on them, so they must be coaching it a little differently. I'll maybe check with their coaches how they're coaching things. You know, and see. You know, there's a massive differential over the last 2 weeks in penalty calls. So, you know, I think 23-5. So I got to really maybe they're doing something a little different than what we're doing. So I got to go look into that that's going to be on me to make sure our discipline and we're not getting penalties like called us that we're playing at a higher level.
And then Brenton didn't play in the second half. Brenton Cox, is he all right?
Yeah, he was a little banged up again. I mean, a guy banged up. I wasn't sure he was even going to play. To be honest with you, coming into Thursday's practice, I wasn't expecting him to play, and did a great job. Came out, got himself ready, and prepared and played in the game on Saturday. So, you know, at halftime, I think we got a bunch out of him, and you know, I think he was a little sore, and so we got him out of there in the second half.
Thanks, Coach.
Ryan Haley.
Hey, Coach. Damian Pierce has 7 touchdowns this year. What makes him so useful in those short yardage situations? What about the way he plays and runs the ball?
He's a pretty short, powerful guy. You know, and so he ends up being in there a lot in those situations. He's a strong, very strong physical runner, low center of gravity, and has power running the ball between the tackles. So he gets the opportunity sometimes to go get those carries, and he's done a great job of punching them in the end zone.
And my other one got asked, so thank you.
Nicholas Walsh.
Yeah, Coach, 2 questions. So you talked a little bit about how your defense looked better in the second half, but -9 rushing yards, or -11 looks like, for Vanderbilt in the second half. Can you talk about your front seven specifically and what they did better from the other half?
Well, I think it was just the mindset and the approach that they took into the second half. You know, I got after them that I think it was, you know, that it's I don't want to downplay that we didn't give up any points, but you look at a lot of things. I think that we didn't give up points on some mistakes maybe by Vanderbilt more than us dominating the game, than us shutting them down completely. Now, we made the plays to put them in those tough situations. We made the stop on the 1st and goal situation. We made the stop on 4 straight plays. You know, we made the stop to force them into some field goals. So I'm really pleased with those aspects of things. But I said, hey, that's, you know, the standard is not just let's make a stop at the end of the drive. The standard is every single snap, play it that, you know, from play 1 of the drive. And I thought we did that in the second half, and that's something we can really build off of.
And then just one more. So the cross shot fake punt.
Yep.
Extended that. The cross shot fake punt, or just him keeping the ball, extended the first drive out of the locker room. Can you just talk about what your kind of, was that planned? Was that something that he just did on his own? And
yeah, they were. you know, they were kind of showing a massive overload to one side. Didn't really have anybody on that side of the field, and so just kind of saw that, and you know, Greg Knox saw it, took advantage of it, and executed it. You know, and you know, luckily, just Jeremy didn't like have a flashback and try to like, you know, after every what do you get, 5 steps, 11 steps? You got to bounce. You know, you ever watch Aussie Rules? You got to bounce it, so he didn't bounce it while he was running. So he went pretty far, but you only allowed a couple of steps, so many steps before you got to bounce it. And I should know the rules. I haven't watched in a long time, but I love Aussie Rules. Football is awesome stuff if you ever get a chance to watch it. But luckily, he didn't have a flashback. He had that ball high and tight, ran and got the first down for us. So you can see why he's a good athlete. He's a great athlete for us. And
Rush overall, though, 2 big punts. Can you talk about, you guys haven't had to punt a whole lot over the last 2 years. Can you talk about what he uses as a weapon and kind of changing the field position?
Well, he's huge, and we talk about it all the time, and the consistency of the punts that he makes. And, you know, it does put pressure on the coverage unit because he booms the ball. And so, you know, you don't just got to run 45 yards down the field. You know, you got to go a long way. You know, I might have to go recruit a cross-country guy or something to go cover his punts every once in a while. You know, because that's a long run to go cover it. But, you know, we see it in practice all the time. I think our team has great confidence in him, and I think he's a great weapon for us.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Is
What's
that
that?
just a look that Jeremy sees, or is it like a?
We have a call that we can get to into certain looks.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Go Gators.
You guys will have some players.